I represented a company from Switzerland for 21 years. I would go back and see the borders that exist in Europe. I don't believe open borders would work. We don't have an infrastructure in place in America. We've created a system where we have too many social programs that we wouldn't be able to fund to educate everyone in the world that that would want to come here to take advantage of those social programs. So each country, like we hear, like when Denmark was working with medicine and other issues, but it works in their populations. When I'd go to Switzerland, in some counties or states, they only had one person who was unemployed. So you can have a lot more different taxation issues if you have a very low unemployment. To say open borders, where you would invite so many people to come in because we offer free education and many other programs, I don't see how that would work with that. So in your line, do I see it the same? Not exactly, because we had a situation here in '68, which I think was different from what we would have now if we just said that anybody in the world that wanted to come to America was welcome. And that situation there was to clear a lot of issues with Jim Crow, which needed to be addressed. And then that issue had gone on for about 100 years with Jim Crow. And I think we're still seeing a lot of it today. And I've learned a lot from Reverend LeRoy and from Reverend Pete, this process about what we need to do on those issues. But I think it's quite different.
Thomas.
Yeah, kind of reiterate, the question there is it's something that, I think it just distracts us from the big issues that we have in this country that we need to address. And, civil rights, yeah, that's always going to be an issue and all that, but it seems like all these little issues seem like to come in to create distractions to the biggest problems that we have in this country. And so that's where I just kind of stand on that. I just see these kind of questions as kind of repeated. And I've repeated myself a lot of times about a lot of things. And it really just comes back to, to the main core of what we need to be doing in this country.
Okay, so do you think that there is a difference between open borders and desegregation? They're not the same thing?
I don't think they're the same thing. No.
Okay. All right, Mr. Billiot.
Well, with any argument, you can find some similarities in the two because you're basically talking about a cultural intrusion into one type of people. So what we're looking at, I'm a Native American. And when you talk about open borders, I mean, it really, it intrigues me to think that because back in 1492, when Christopher Columbus landed in the New World, he came into a country that was totally inhabited by indigenous people in North America, all the Indian tribes across North America. And then by having open arms and all that stuff and welcoming them in freely, that whole indigenous people were almost wiped out from the face of the earth. Now we don't speak any native languages on a regular basis, from the Choctaw to all the Indian tribes that inhabited North America and even South America. So immigration isn't something new. It's something that's been going on forever. And what we need to look at as a country is how this is going to affect the values and the standard of living that we actually currently have. If we continue to let people flow in unvetted, and I've said this before in some of the forums, there's two reasons people come to America. The first one is to be part of a free democratic process, a country to where you are free to worship in your own way, are free to make the choices to do what you choose to do for a living, the choice to go from poverty to riches just because of your efforts and your abilities. Now, the other reason people come to America is to bring their tyranny and oppression back onto our borders, to change the way of life because they don't like the democratic free world. And so in order for us to really be comprehensive in what we're doing, the issues that we're facing today has some similarities to the desegregation because the cultural differences that we've had between the European Americans and the African Americans was greatly different. The education system was different because of the system that was in place. So you can argue that there are some similarities in the two, but overall, And we're still fighting that today. I mean, here in Tangible Hope Parish in Louisiana, we've got judges force busing integration in the schools because it's never been fully adopted by some of the people. And that's something that we're always going to fight. But we lack leadership and we lack policy to address these issues in a constructive way that benefits all people involved. I think the immigration policies that we have right now, if they were to be enforced, would be fine. You know, there's arguments of, you know, well, what do you do about the people that are already here? Well, as an American, as a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, as someone who took an oath to protect our country, I think what we need to do is turn off the valve. We need to stop the over inflow of people, and then we need to start finding out the people that are here. What are their intentions? You know, do we want to destroy our way of life by allowing? When you have people in northern parts of this country wanting to incite Sharia law inside of American borders, that's a problem. If you want to stay in Sharia law, stay in the Middle East, practice your law. You have that right. Don't try to bring with you the laws from your land into a land that's democratic and free. So, you know, there's different arguments you can make. But on the point of, is there some similarities to the desegregation? You can argue that point, but I think that we're facing a much bigger problem because it's not just one culture versus another. You've got many cultures trying to come in and water down the American capitalistic free enterprise society.
Okay.
That answers your question.
It does. Now we're going to go to LeRoy Gillam. LeRoy, do you think they're similar?
Most definitely they're similar because of the fact, well, somewhat similar, because what we're doing, we're forcing a country that once had open borders. Everybody was able to walk across, go over there, come over here, on both sides, Mexico, even Canada. It ended under George Bush administration because he felt as though 9/11 was a dangerous situation. They came through Mexico and came through Canada to get here, when all they did was walk in through the front door. But I want to say to you gentlemen who feel as though running for the U.S. Senate that you're running for to be just senator of Louisiana. No, gentlemen. We are running for a seat, the second most powerful seat in the country, U.S. Senate. We make laws. We pass bills and laws for the country, not for just Louisiana. So whatever we discuss at this moment, we're discussing for the country. Stop saying that Louisiana have this going on and we discuss this other places. We're discussing the United States. What's going on in the United States, what's going on in Louisiana, it's all the same. So get the good out your mouth and let's debate.
All right, now we're going to go back to Raphael for the third question. Raphael?
Sure. So my question involves guns. The Second Amendment has been something that has been a topic in this election, a heavily debated topic. I want to get your take on what the Second Amendment means to you, and what you would do to curb the gun violence that's happened either in your state or to help curb the gun violence in the United States over the past couple of years.
Thomas, it's your turn.
Oh, you want to start with me? Look, the Second Amendment, look, I'm libertarian. Second Amendment is like, it protects all your rights. And it's also liberty of national security for our country. And so, that part in the Constitution, when it was brought in there, it's just exactly that. And it's a liberty for national security throughout our whole country. And so I don't care who gets elected; it doesn't matter who. Don't mess with my Second Amendment, and that just point blank there. Everybody knows what I mean by that. But yeah, I mean, what was the other part? Say the other part of the question for me.
The other part of the question was, what will you do to curb gun violence?
What would I do to curb gun violence? I would probably, you know, the thing that's trending in the marijuana industry, you know, throughout the whole country, because that's we're trying to decriminalize, you know, drugs and stuff like that. I think that would be a curb in violence, just because there's a lot of cartel going on. There's a lot of gangs going on. There's a lot of violence in that. If you legalize drugs, I think a lot of that would go away. It would come on a legal shelf. It'd be like going on the shelf, you know, walking in your store, go ahead and pick out your poison or whatever you want to do and what have not. That's how it should be. You know, if you can't handle your stuff, you know, you're falling down on the street, they're gonna put you in a rehab. And, you know, this is how you can kind of curb the
You're not answering that,
violence. Legalize the drugs because there's 5 countries that's done it and it's worked.
All right.
He kind of did. He said legalizing drugs will curb gun violence. That's what he said.
Sure.
Okay. Well, let's go to Mr. Billiot. Let's give Mr. Billiot a chance.
Yeah. Isn't that ironic, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Good.
All right, Mr. Billiot.
Who's next?
Mr. Billiot's next.
Okay.
Beryl Billiot.
See, LeRoy's voting for Hillary. I told you.
Yeah, let's go to Beryl Billiot.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Next question.
You know, the Second Amendment to me, as a Marine Corps veteran, I think guns are important in America. The reason that we don't fight wars on American soil is because the biggest army is the army of the people. And, you know, I believe that what we have in America isn't necessarily a gun problem, it's a people problem. We have an enforcement problem of our laws. You know, you sit here and we talk about we need to take the guns away. We need to pass laws that will restrict the rights of law-abiding citizens. I disagree, because when you have a law-abiding citizen, he is not the one out there shooting people. The people that have these guns shooting people don't care what the law is to begin with. So if we make it to where we can enforce the laws that we have, and we aggressively pursue these people that are violating the rights of the law-abiding citizens, we can eliminate this problem. Now, you want to talk about curbing gun violence, let's reinstitute family values. Let's reinstitute the family as a unit and give leadership in all these communities. No matter what community you look at, whether gun violence is high, whether it's a Latino, whether it's a black, whether it's white, most of them are impoverished in most cases, simply because the family value has failed. The system rewards people for doing the wrong thing. It punishes them for doing the right things. And it causes a young woman who becomes pregnant to not get married and instill the family, because then she gets no assistance from our government. If she doesn't get married and raises that child as an unwed mother and lets the child go out, she gets increased revenue for doing the wrong thing. So we have a systemic problem that's encouraging gun violence. Now, people say there's a disconnect between that. I disagree. We get leadership. We get men raising our children. We start holding people accountable for the things that they do. Then and only then can we curb the gun violence. Because if it's not a gun, people that want to be violent and kill somebody is going to find another way to do it, whether it's a pipe bomb, whether it's anything else. So what we have isn't a law issue, it's an enforcement issue. We need to enforce the laws. We need to provide true leadership to all these young men and young women and all over the country that are finding themselves in a position where they feel that they cannot win. We need to change that attitude. We need to let them know that there is opportunity. We need to give them tools to bring themselves out of the riches and the ditches that they're living in into a life of success. And we need to do that through leadership and through programs that influence people to do better. So you want to talk about, you know, reducing gun violence? Let's educate them. Let's give them good moral values, and let's give them an idea that they can be someone and they can succeed, and your gun violence will minimize.
All right, Charles Marsala, same question.
Okay. Well, I'll begin by first on one note to LeRoy when he said that I was focused on Louisiana issues and not state issues there. In my platform, I talked about dead zone. Well, I'll let LeRoy, if you want to go, I'll wait. Okay.
Get it, Marsala. Go on.
All right. My platform, I talk about dead zones. There are 500 dead zones worldwide in our waterways. That is a global issue. Louisiana has the second largest in the world. I also talk about coastal erosion, which is here, which is climate change, which is also a global issue. I talk about Medicare reform because my mother, when my dad passed away, she needed to go in because she got over-medicated by prescription drugs, and they wanted to go through all the savings before they would give her any assistance. So then when the end was, when she'd get out, she wouldn't have any money to take care of her house. That's another national issue. Flooding is also going on national. That's a global climate change issue. It's also more specific in Louisiana. And long-term care, making 401ks more easily accessible for 401ks is a national issue. So LeRoy, I have a lot of national issues I'm pushing, which is why I ran for U.S. Senate and not state. Now back to this question at hand on the gun violence. Right now, we've gotten a new era where it's going on where you can actually buy a machine for $1,100 that can make guns. We have a whole new era that's happened now for guns. I was mayor of a town. We worked a lot with a PAL program, which is Police Activity League, which had our police out in the streets working with youth. And we had a lot of gangs that we dealt with in our town to address those issues where we have a better relationship with gangs or children that might be into that. It was called the School Resource Officer Program. And that program allowed policemen to be in a school where they knew we were going to have trouble and try to shut down those gang issues with guns prior to them to developing. So that is one thing that I would do. We're seeing a new era. We actually have a thing called suicide by police. People that want to commit suicide right now realize there may be a benefit to actually having the police kill them because they might have a civil rights lawsuit claim. So we saw that, and there's a lot of stories happening where someone that's ready to commit suicide antagonizes the police, has a fake gun, and encourages the police to kill them because of the potential revenue. There's a lot of other issues we got to address on the gun violence as far as getting people less inclined to use it. But it's oddly enough, we have laws that say if you use a gun, you go to jail, but that isn't enough deterrent. It's going to have to come from creating new values.
Okay.
All right.
Before Leroy starts, we see the Sean. There's another Sean I see on the screen.
Yeah.
But get there.
All right. GOP girl, are you on?
Yes, but I don't know if you can see me.
It doesn't matter. We have your image up. We have the image that you use on your Skype. Okay. Let's allow Dr. Gillam to respond to the question, and then we'll start the next round of questions after that.
Okay.
Well, the reason why I made that statement was because a couple of times it was said that we have problems in Louisiana, and that's what we need to be discussing. When all actuality, we're not senators just for Louisiana. We're senators. We're trying to become senators of the United States. But now, I must say this much. I have never known marijuana to get a gun, point it at someone, cock it, and pull the trigger. Never seen that happen before. Never will see that happen. Marijuana do not cause you to kill anyone. Okay? It was asked about the Second Amendment. Yes, every man should be able to purchase a firearm if that's what he chooses. And if it's good for a white man to pack a firearm on his hip, it should be good for a black man to pack a firearm on his hip. An African American was killed in Baton Rouge this year. Police officer said, partner, he have a gun. He pulled his gun out, he shot that man, he killed that man. You understand? Now, if that would have been a white man who walked down the street with a gun on his hip in front of the police, nobody say anything to him. But only the blacks, they kill us for carrying a gun. So the Second Amendment is not for every race. It is definitely not for every race. You understand? But now, what I feel to stop the violence with those men and women that's carrying firearms, we need to have mental health background check to make sure that people are stable enough to carry a firearm in the public, in a store, in a bar, in a theater where there's children. A man walking in a theater with a gun on his hip and he's mentally ill, no telling what he would do. Then we need to check criminal background right and not just say we checked it. If you want to curb the violence with the guns, by all means, you have to do those things and more to assure the American people that they are safe. The Second Amendment was originated saying that a man should be able to protect his castle. That's what it's about.
Okay, Dr. Gillam, before we go on to the next question, now that our images have adjusted a little bit, is it possible for you to move your camera out a little bit more so that we get your full picture in there?
That's better.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that should be fine.
Okay, there you go. That's perfect. Right there. Right there was perfect. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to take a moment to introduce GOP Girl. GOP Girl is a political blogger. Actually, Dr. Gillam, on my end, it appears as if you can move your camera up a little bit, just a little bit more, like maybe half an inch more, you'll be centered on the screen. Or move it out. If you can move it out another inch or two, I think you'd be centered.
Okay.
All right, that's good. All right, GOP Girl, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still with you.
Okay, so we're going to turn the next question over to a GOP Girl. I'm going to tell GOP Girl so she knows. You're perfect. Okay, the questions we've had so far have been about gun control, gun violence. We had a question about immigration, and we had a question about Raphael. I forgot what the first question was about.
The 1964 Act.
Okay.
Okay.
So GOP Girl, every candidate here is running for the U.S. Senate out of Louisiana. They're Louisiana candidates. They're competing for the Louisiana seat in the U.S. Senate. Why don't you go ahead and ask a question that you would ask of any Senate candidate, and we'll probably start this one maybe with Mr. Gillam. Mr. Gillam hasn't had a chance to answer first yet, so let's give him a chance to answer one from the get-go.
Okay. My question to you would be, how do you propose to keep this country safe, or to keep your state safe, with the allowance of already Obama has allowed 12,000 Syrian refugees that it just came out Obama has told his vetting people to look the other way, even if they have pledged their allegiance to ISIS or any other terrorist group. So how do you propose to keep your state safe?
Okay, Dr. Gillam?
You're being forced to take these people in.
LeRoy?
Dr.
You're first.
I'm not a President Obama big fan. Okay, I respect the man wholeheartedly. Okay, by all means, he's the President of the United States. I have to respect it. But I did not hear him say that, nor did I catch that on the news. So for that reason, I cannot make a comment on something about him telling them to turn their head. But I will make a comment this way. I feel as though we have to be very careful with ISIS, extremely careful. We have to make sure we let the right people into this country. But as far as ISIS, it's quite a few U.S. citizens joining ISIS. That was some in Mississippi that most recently
Correct.
joined ISIS. Some men. So, you know, it's going to be hard to keep ISIS out of this country. And we cannot understand this. If Trump becomes president, he's going to call martial law. And that we do not want in this country, martial law. What I would do, I would bring on more police officers as a senator. I would have to give money to my state. I would give more money to my state for them to bring specialists in, recruit them from the military.
All right, Dr. Gillam, we're going to go.
And watch ISIS.
Dr. Gillam, we're going to go to Mr. Beryl Billiot now. I have to tell you, I think your cell phone battery may be dying out. You're breaking up. So we're going to go to Mr. Billiot right now. And Mr. Billiot, could you respond to GOP Girl's question?
Yes. As we talked about, just like before with the immigration issues that we're facing, the same thing with the Syrian refugees. In order to keep not only our state, but our country safe, we must be involved. The problem that we have in most communities, and the reason crime is running rampant, not just with Syrian refugees, but with any people or any non-law-abiding citizen in our communities, is the fact that the community is not involved. We must implement community policing back and make sure that the people that do report different types of events are protected from the criminals. You know, I live about 80 miles from New Orleans. I grew up 5 miles from the city. And I know in some of this, growing up as a poor individual, I was subjected to some of this in our neighborhoods, where crime would happen, no one would want to report it simply because the fear of retaliation from the people that you're reporting on. And so in order to really correct the problem that we have, we must, as a community, be involved. We must not be led by fear. And we must know that our police officers and our law agencies are there to protect us. Right now, you know, Mr. Gilman, I wish he was still on, because he made a comment, oh, there he is. He made the comment about that the Second Amendment is not equally enforced between the blacks and the whites. And, you know, he made the comment about the young man that was shot in Baton Rouge. The thing is, we're not telling the whole story. It wasn't just that he said the guy's got a gun and he was shot. There was a whole prologue before that led up to that decision. And what we need to start doing is making some wise decisions and making sure that when the police say stop, you stop. And now the same thing goes with Syrian refugees. If you know someone that's here from Syria in your community, and you find out they're doing something that seems to be suspicious or illegal, you should be aware of your surroundings. And it doesn't matter if they're Syrian, if they're Mexican, if they're Louisianan, if they're Texan, if they're Arkansas. It doesn't matter where people are from. We have bad people all over the world. And we need to make sure that we protect ourselves and go back to community policing. But this thing about the Syrians, go ahead.
When you say community policing, are you talking about neighborhood watch, kind of like what Mr. Zimmerman in Florida got caught up in? Now, remember, he ended up on a trial for murder.
I'm not saying go out and chase them down. I'm saying be aware of your surroundings. You see something suspicious, report it to the officials. Sometimes you have to get involved. If I see my neighbor beating up somebody and I know the situation, you know, sometimes you need to step up and get involved.
Well, now there was another case, I believe it was in Chicago, in the suburbs of Chicago, where a man had kidnapped several kids and kept them prisoner for several years. A neighbor heard a voice of a girl crying, went and broke into the house, and it turned out that there were several young ladies who had been kidnapped and were held prisoner for their entire childhood. Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's kind of what I'm saying, but on a little bit bigger scale is that, you know, we've got bad people. And we as law-abiding citizens and we as leaders in our communities must take some responsibility in making sure that we educate, we lead by example, and that we give our law enforcement the authority that they need to maintain peace and order. You know, when you have a lot of these issues, you know, people turn this into a big racial issue with this gun thing and people getting shot. It's not a matter of black and white. It's a matter of you were told to do something and failed to abide by the law. You failed to follow instruction, and that's a problem. Whether you're white, black, green, yellow, red, purple, it doesn't matter. If a police officer tells you, hey, stop, stop. You comply, you will not die. And that's something that we were taught as young people in the communities, is a cop is your friend. Now, also that we know that there are bad police officers. There's no doubt that there are some people in the system that are flawed. Hold them accountable as well. They need to abide by the same law. But that doesn't mean take the power away from the police. That means punish the ones that are doing wrong, just like you do anybody else. But by telling them to stand down and not enforcing the law and doing their job, we're opening the door for more crime. And we're making people feel that they don't have to listen to the law. We must. And if we do not instill the law back into the hands of the police and properly put those people in place, it's not going to change. Now, there's so many different arguments to this. And again, as I said before, fixing one thing isn't going to fix our problems. We must take this from a systemic approach. We got law officers making $8 to $10 an hour for some cities. How do you think that they can supply for their families worth for $8 to $10 an hour? You know, there's a rule of thumb. If you have a degree, you can't find a job, you become a cop or a teacher. That's a problem. The two most important professionals in our society, the ones educating our kids and enforcing our law, are some of the lowest paid professionals in our country. In countries where they're paid properly, their crime is low, their economy is booming, because you got #1 people, top tier people, educating. And all right, Thomas, I see you rolling on.
Actually, Mr. Billiot, let's go to Thomas. It's really his turn to respond to this question. So, Thomas, the question was originally, what will you do as a senator to police against Syrian refugees who come here and do not come here to be citizens and live our life, but come here to engage in terrorism?
You know, that's a really good question. You know, I guess if I was a senator, I would try to rally my others. Colleagues and friends that I would make up there and try to bring the power back from the president, where the president can't just run these refugees through like there's a secret little tunnel or something they got going on. And, you know, they all seem to get cleared. This is not even about, you know, applying to come here. And it's almost like they're inviting these people to come in. And so, you know, maybe take the power back from the president, you know, and not giving him that kind of power. I think that would be probably the best way to go. And a lot of other powers that the president's been doing.
All right. Do you think that the president acted within his power to bring all the Syrian refugees here and to allow more to come, or do you think he went beyond the power that the Constitution gives him?
Well, no, sure, he acted within his power. Congress gave all that power to him.
Okay, so you will take that power.
He's the one that's pushing the budget, borrowing $1 trillion and all that fun stuff, and you know, so you know, he's grabbing his refugees, and
okay.
You know, so he's making.
All right, I just wanted to clarify whether you thought the president
should be the one that should be in control over all that. I think it would be a lot different.
Okay, let's give Charles Marsala a chance to respond to that same question. Syrian refugees, where do you stand?
You know, and Sean, one thing we might want to do is through all these other forums, we actually give each person either a minute or 2 minutes.
I agree. I think next time we do this, I think we're going to try to set this up again. And next time we do this, we're going to have more of a structure to it. But at this point, can you respond to the Syrian refugee issue?
You know, there's one of the things, one of my initiatives on my platform is unfunded mandates. And here, what I want to crack down on it as a mayor, I had to deal with the fact that either the feds or the states put in some program and the city's got to fund that. We don't get the money. So if you crack down and say that the feds can't give a program, which would mean educating Syrian refugees in the school system or providing other services without giving the cities the funds to do that, you're also going to start to put an end to this. Because I think what we've seen happen here is that the issue becomes 80 to 90% of the refugees are registering as Democrats. And it's also begun to seem, is that a way of boosting the party by saying, hey, we're going to bring in refugees in a certain market where we want to increase Democratic voter registration, and we're doing that. I don't see how you can actually get more police funds. We had to fight pretty hard under President Clinton, had a police program that it's very difficult to get the grant money to say we want more money for our police department. I'm sure many police departments need more money right now. The other deal is there are a lot of skilled workers who are trying to do the standard method to get in. And I was out in California where I was mayor for a while, and the high-tech companies out there have people that they wanted to bring in for companies that they either acquired, that they were now managing, or whatever. They wanted an executive to come into Silicon Valley, and the guy couldn't come in. And suddenly we've got a plan in place now where we can bring in 100,000 refugees, and we can't get a guy with a PhD that has certain expertise that's needed for a high-tech company. It makes no sense. So I think those are the primary things I would look to do. And Congress seemingly needs to step in. I do feel that President Obama, by doing this, is overstepping what his job is. As executive, he's to implement programs. If he doesn't have the funding from Congress to bring in all the refugees, how can he go spend the money to do this? Any president should have certain restraints on him that would prohibit spending all the money or allocating the cities and states to fund his programs.
Sean, how many more questions do you want to do? Because
I was going to give the next question to you, and then if everybody wanted to do one more, I was going to do another. But do you want one more question?
Go ahead, because I did a question, then GOP did a question, so it's your turn. I just was going to say, because I have a timer on my phone, I can make it so that each candidate has 90 seconds to respond. Just make it go quicker.
Okay, we can do that. I have a question about energy, and this question is going to cross over to the environment, because anytime you discuss energy, the environment comes into the conversation. The United States has what is said to be an enormous potential to produce a lot of the world's natural gas. However, natural gas is a very, very small portion of overall global fuel supply. The state of Louisiana, where each of you lives and each of you is campaigning to represent, is a coastal state. It also has the Mississippi River. For that reason, Louisiana is a key port of export for liquid natural gas. Now, the liquid natural gas industry, that part of natural gas, is still developing. They say that liquid natural gas is still in its infancy, and that Louisiana is going to be one of the states in the future that has a very large capacity to export liquid natural gas to the rest of the world. So what I would like to know, and we'll start with Charles Marsala, if you're elected to Senate, where are you going to stand on providing federal funds to develop Louisiana's capacity to export liquid natural gas to the rest of the world? And how does environmental impact affect where you stand on that subject?
Okay, sure. And I actually will set my own timer here to try to stay under that 90 seconds.
All right.
So one of the things that I would do, I was a drilling engineer. That was my career in college. I drilled for about 8 months offshore. As far as the environmental impact, the biggest thing we're seeing is there's a lot of coastal erosion from the pipelines that were laid to the wells out in the Gulf. And we're supposed to start getting next year $160 million from the feds and the offshore royalty tax, which would go up to $500 million. There's talk right now, the Obama administration does not want to give that back to the Gulf states, which we're going to use to restore the coast. That's a big environmental thing we have to deal with in Louisiana. We have a thing called LOOP, which is the Louisiana Offshore Oil Platform. That was done in the 70s to be able to facilitate tankers coming in and transporting our goods to market offshore. To answer the other part, though, is I haven't seen the numbers to see how much we can export. Because if we have that much, we have a need in America to cut down on our carbon emissions. And if we can use liquid natural in America first and reduce the amount of fracking and other issues where the oil that we're generating, I would be in favor of using it domestically before I would favor exporting it. If there is room to export after that, that's another issue.
Dr. Gillam, are you ready to go?
Well, no. What did you mean? I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll move on to Mr. Billiot, and the question was.
Really breaking up.
Yeah, Dr. Gilroy, Dr. Gilroy, we can't hear you at all. So we're going to go to Beryl Billiot. Liquid natural gas, Louisiana. Where do you stand on that?
Well, just like you had said, LNG production is in its infancy. The technology is nowhere near where it is with the regular crude oil exploration. But when it comes down to Senate and government funding of clean energy, we should be involved to some degree. But I think that if we can turn this into a commercial endeavor there where the government can create some business-friendly legislation that's a win-win situation, that increases competition for it, the commercial industry is eager to go in there and take this at their own. I think companies will be willing to invest in their own future as well. So instead of using government money to create business, let business money create business. And, we do have the availability of the river and one of the biggest ports for export. But I agree with Mr. Charles Marsala. We need to take care of America first. And we need to take care of our country. And if we can reduce our carbon emissions by doing that, then it's all great. But there's some issues with the fracking, with things that's unknown that's happening. They've been fracking for a long time here where I live. And there's some things happening all over the country. So when it comes to the environmental issues, we need to be aware of anything that we do. We need to look at it from an environmental standpoint and what that impact is going to be. And we can't just turn away blindly because it's going to be good economically. It needs to be a fit in both directions.
All right, Thomas Clements.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, excellent. We're going to let Thomas go, and then you'll go last. Thomas?
Yeah, as far as natural gas goes, Cameron Parish, they have one of the largest natural gas plants that they've been installing over there. And so our state it's going to be #1 in natural gas, I believe, eventually. And next to North Dakota, I know North Dakota is very big on the natural gas up there as well. So as far as energy in our country, we don't have an energy policy. So I always like to see an energy policy of some kind, but it always falls under the president. And he uses the energy department to do whatever plan they want to do. So every 4 years, our energy plan changes. So, I like to see Congress as a senator. I would try to go in there and say, look, we need to take that power away from the president and say, look, we need a sound, some kind of sound structure, energy policy going forward, with everything that we have. And I don't see why that we can't come up with a lot better than what we're doing. And we're doing a lot more importing oil again. We was drilling and taking care of our own. I understand there's some production coming in, but as far as
90 seconds up.
All right, we're going to go to Dr. Gillam.
All right, yeah. There's just not enough production coming in, but we need a lot more permits. So
okay, Dr. Gillam, the question was about Louisiana and the natural gas industry and developing Louisiana's ability to export. If you're elected to Senate, will you pass federal legislation that avails more federal dollars to Louisiana's natural gas industry to develop, further develop its ability to export liquid natural gas? And where do you stand on the environmental impact of the natural gas industry as a whole?
Well, I'm a firm believer that we should do our part to assure the American people more jobs within the oil and gas field. I am a strong believer that we should import and export more gas, natural gas. You understand what I'm saying? But the one thing that I'm concerned about, while we're exporting and importing, after we finish drilling all of this natural gas, sending it overseas, sending it to other places, is it going to really benefit us? Is it going to benefit the American people? That's my whole thing. Will it benefit the American people? Will they be able to make money off of it? Will they be able to feed their children off of it? Will they be paid a fair wage for it? Long as that is happening, yes, I will push that.
All right, Raphael, do you want to ask the next question?
Okay, is this the last one or?
Well, let's have GOP girl ask one more.
Okay, all right. So this is my question, my last question. One of the issues that we're having in Congress today is a lack of bipartisan agreement. If elected to the Senate, what will you do to work with Democrats, if you're a Libertarian, Republicans, and Democrats, to get rid of some of the gridlock in Congress and to get both Republicans and Democrats or Libertarians, if you're a Libertarian, to start working together? And we'll start with
it would be Mr. Billiot. Beryl Billiot.
Okay.
I'm up.
Yeah.
Right. You know, as you know, I'm running as an independent because I personally feel that the parties don't have the people's best interests at heart. And because of the bipartisan gridlock that we do have, I think as an independent, I'm viewed differently. And it may be as an outsider from both ways. But as a leader, I know that I can work with anyone, regardless of whether you're Republican, whether you're Democrat. You know, as a senator, I would look at any idea that's presented, not whether it came from a Republican or Democrat, but whether it's a good idea for the people of the United States of America and whether it's good enough for the people of the state of Louisiana. Because, you know, as Dr. Gillam had said earlier, we're not just senators for Louisiana, but we are up there to represent the people of Louisiana within the United States Senate. And we have a dual job. We have to make sure that everything that we do is for the country and for the people of Louisiana. But as an independent, I know that I would be able to work across both lines because I don't see the party as the predominant thing. I see the person and the idea as the dominant issue in the effect. And we need to make sure that those ideas are worked, and whether it came from a Republican or Democrat, let's take these good ideas, let's put them to work, and make sure that it's happening right for the people.
Okay.
Thomas Clements.
As Thomas would say, team, together everyone achieves more libertarian.
Or liberty. Liberty. More liberty.
All right, Mr. Clements, go.
Yeah. So, I mean, go ahead and repeat the question again one more time.
What will you, if elected, what will you do to stop the gridlock in Congress and start getting Republicans and Democrats or whatever parties that are in Congress to start working together?
I'm gonna turn the light switch on to be the first thing, and so I mean, they're working up there in the dark all the time and working together, so with $20 trillion in debt, it's going to be pretty hard to get through the gridlock. I think. I mean, y'all seem to. I always love how they always say, we don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem, but you have to borrow $1 trillion. So I think Congress is lopsided and what they need to be doing. So that's where I kind of stand on that. I don't really have a whole lot to say on that anymore.
All right, Charles.
Okay, sure.
I'm actually going to hold up, and right here's my flyer. And you can see I have a red state and a blue state right there. So if you go to the website, you can read about bipartisan results. That's this area right here. Thank you for that. It's a setup question almost for me. But when I was mayor of Atherton, so I grew up in Louisiana, took a drilling job off in California, got laid off and switched to designing military bases, and then built an e-commerce company, and then got into politics. But in 2006, I was named to the governor's bipartisan leadership team, which was 90 individuals, included people like George Shultz, Democratic leaders, Republican leaders, and we worked together to solve some of the pension problems. There's really a several $1 trillion unfunded pension liability nationwide that I think needs to be addressed, and that's some of the things we're addressing in California. That shortly after that, I was awarded from the League of Cities a Leadership in Action Award for my role in that as well. So I was a Republican on the San Francisco Peninsula, which is a very heavily Democratic place. And right now, I've actually got a meeting coming up with some people from Black Lives Matter in New Orleans trying to resolve some issues and work together. I was featured in Black Business and Professional News last week as I'm working on a lot of the issues that are affecting all people, whether it be clean water, how do we bring jobs back to Louisiana, how do we solve things in the Congress. I, like Dianne Feinstein, has a bill that I've endorsed and got heavily behind
90
on.
seconds are up.
Okay.
All right.
You just, yeah.
I'll just enter that I want to help her get that bill passed. So there's a lot of bipartisan things I've worked on.
Dr. Gillam.
Well, repeat the question again, please.
If elected to the Senate, what will you do to stop the gridlock in Congress and start getting whatever parties that are in Congress to work together?
Truthfully, it's going to be hard to stop the gridlock in Congress as long as President Obama is in office. The gridlock in Congress is to prevent him from doing certain things that need to be done. Secondly, getting them to work together is just as hard to accomplish. In other words, what I would do at this point, I would have to take the problem to the people. I would have to go nationwide, asking the people to contact their senators, get them to cooperate, get them to work, get them to do the right thing, to pass the right bills, to pass the right laws that will benefit the country. That is the only way that anything is going to be done. You just asking them to vote for this and vote for that. If you don't have enough money to give them, they're not going to vote for it. They're not going to work with you. Just embarrass them. Take it to the people. Let the people decide by needling their senators.
Okay, GOP girl, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, we're going to give the last question to GOP girl. We had some technical difficulties bringing GOP girl in. That was on my end. After the debate started, I figured out how to bring her in. She should have been here earlier, but that was my fault. So, GOP girl, the last question is yours.
Okay. So many politicians in Washington say one thing to get elected and then get to Washington and do nothing or do the opposite. Can the people of Louisiana depend on you to keep your word and uphold the policies that you say you want to carry through?
Clements.
All right. Well, I mean, that's a great question, GOP girl. You know, for administrations on both sides of the aisle, it's wiped out a life savings of what I went through, and you know, going through a business, and so I see these things that are you know, detrimental to what we need to be doing, and you know, this is why I'm running, because it's, you know, if they took my life savings, they took my ex-wife's life savings, and then, you know, so people go, well, you got to start at the bottom and work your way up. No, I don't believe that. You know, I mean, this my problem started at the top, and so this is where I got to go with you know, with my campaign, and this is why I've been so adamant and staying so focused on this, and I hope everybody in America understands that part, because if it just affects just one or two people, man, look, they can come along and they can take yours easy. And, you know, so when you think you got cushion, you got life savings, you know, the federal government could just, you know, with an ink pen, you know, just write any old moratorium they want. And, you know, wipe out a whole industry. They can wipe out, you know, families and jobs and stuff like that. And, you know, my whole situation is a long story, but in short and sweet, that's what this was all about. I funded my own campaign.
90 seconds up.
All right, Charles Marsala, please.
Okay. Actually, Sean, thank you for putting this together. And I appreciate the fact you have the panel of people to ask is very diverse. It's great. So, GOP girl, I'll also hold up a flyer here. On the back side of this page is my initiatives, and there's 10 of them. And if you go to my YouTube channel, we've got 30-second versions of these, and we got 5-minute detailed versions of them. So my first 100 days, I pretty much know what I want to get done. And one of the biggest reasons I got in this race is the two congressmen that are running against did not support a bill I had to stop Ivory-funded terrorism, because I'm really big on saving the elephant, the rhino, and the lion. And there was an anti-poaching bill that Dianne Feinstein put in that they have not gotten behind. So that's up over here, because that's about a $5 billion deal for ISIS in Africa. And you can see all 10 things that I want to work on. So I think they could count on me because it's out there, it's public, they could monitor how I'm doing, and I intend to keep using YouTube so I can let them know what we're getting done on those issues. Also, when I was on the city council and mayor in Atherton, I ran on the same thing. I had results and what my vision was, and I hang that in my office. I was checking it off as we're working on the things that I wanted to get done in Atherton, which was a new art center and some other environmental things, as well as a new town center. So we made progress and keep myself accountable on those issues. I think the residents could feel comfortable that that's what we're going to get done.
All right, Mr. Gillam. Dr. Gillam, excuse me.
My slogan is no more lies, no more out promises, just the truth. I take pride in being honest with the people, straight up honest. I'm not in this to deceive the people. I wrote a primary contract with the American people in a town hall meeting. We had the signing that I will not accept lobbyist money. Okay, that will help to keep me focused on what I'm going to Washington for. The second thing is we have to. I have to look me in the mirror at night, in the morning when I shave. I have to be honest with myself. The American people are maybe getting ready to entrust their family's future in my hands. For that reason, I cannot let them down. Everything has to be a board tape. I cannot do nothing sideways. If you would Google my name, you would find that I have been offered money by major companies to mess over people, and I exposed it. I'm not the one to play that game.
Okay, what we're going to do now is I'm going to ask the co-hosts.
Wait.
Yeah, thank you.
My mistake.
The answer to your question, GOP girl, is yes. The people can depend on me to be exactly who I am. Because, you know, I ran for governor last year in a very unsuccessful race because I did not lie. I told the people of Louisiana what the problem was. I told the people of Louisiana what happened. That's not.
I don't know who that is. It's not me.
It's me. It's not me.
But anyway, but yes, they can depend on me to be who I am now and who I am later. Now, also what you need to understand is what a lot of people don't understand is even though I want to do certain things in Congress and in the Senate, will I be able to? All I can tell you is I will fight for what I believe in. My website, BerylBilliot.com, has my main objectives listed, and I will check those off because those are the things that are important to me and my family, and I believe they should be important to every citizen of the United States of America. And I will stand behind those, and that's what I'm going to fight for. Now, you know, to make those come into reality is going to require leadership, and it's going to require working with other people to get them to believe the same thing. And that's what leaders do. They take an idea that they firmly believe in and persuade others to feel the same way, and then you can work it through. But I am who I am, and that's all I'm going to be.
Okay, what I want to do now is ask each of the co-hosts to say something in closing. I want to just make a technical note for anyone who watches this at home. We did have some technical difficulties setting this up. Clearly, I'm not a technical engineer, so it took a while to get everybody connected. And then after we were connected, it clearly took me a while to figure out how to get GOP Girl connected. I apologize for that. We also wanted to stream this online and allow the public to comment and ask questions while we were doing this. I don't think we did that correctly tonight. but we're going to try to do this again, and hopefully we can do this again before the election if all the candidates agree. At some point, maybe we could run a streaming debate with the public being able to comment online, and we'll have somebody, one of the panelists who will just read viewer comments and then relay those questions to the candidates as we go around. So what I'm going to do is we'll have Raphael make the first closing statement, because Raphael is a real journalist by profession. And then because GOP Girl is the guest co-host, we'll allow the guest co-host to have the closing statement. So Raphael.
Okay. Well, I don't have much. I just want to hop on Sean's statement and say that, you may not be able to see me in this recording because of the way that we're recording in this particular shoot. But I'd like to thank everybody who participated in this debate. Again, I live in New York, so I'm not too familiar with Louisiana politics, but I believe that this debate was. I hope that if you live in Louisiana, that this debate gave you a sense of what the candidates represent, what they're fighting for, and can give you a better decision as to who to vote for in your election. So, thank you for watching.
GOP Girl, you have the last word. You're the guest co-host.
Okay. I'd just like to say that Americans, I think on the whole, are very disenchanted with Washington, both sides. I'm a Republican that will probably be leaving the party and becoming an independent. And we're tired of a lot of talk and much ado about nothing. And so whomever becomes the senator for the state of Louisiana, I encourage to stand by what you say and do what you say, and just allow Americans to be able to trust politicians again. Thank you.
Okay.
Libertarian first time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the patience you had as we went through, the administration of getting this done. I had a lot of email contact back and forth with all of you. I had a lot of Skype contact back and forth with all of you. It took a while to get the Skypes connected, and Skype does not seem to be like a perfect science. It seems to be an art. Every time I connect with a bunch of different people on Skype, I always have to hit a bunch of different buttons, close Skype down, start Skype again. Tonight, I even uninstalled Skype and then reconnected. So, are you guys interested in doing this again before the election?
Yeah, this is great. I'm glad you had a GOP lady come in and stuff like that. I think if you had some other. This is great. And I mean,
It gives us
I really like the technology of it.
We've been learning a lot from each other through these 2 months of and what's been great about having the jungle primary Louisiana has is that we're all together. So when you're at a debate or a forum, you have independents, Republicans, Democrats, and Libertarians, and you get to modify your own views a little bit as you get a perspective of where someone else stands on a certain issue.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I don't think big media has really grasped in this election in Louisiana is you have 24 candidates, and that means if the votes were divided equally, 4% goes to each person. So one candidate could end up with 5%, 10% of the vote, and that candidate's in the runoff if the rest of the votes are distributed equally.
Yeah, Sean, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to have, you need about 15% probably to make the runoff, but it is quite low. So the numbers are probably going to be the first person's going to have probably 20, and second place will probably be about 15.
Yeah,
give or
that
take.
was the math we did too, Charles, was 15% get you in the runoff.
Well, I honestly believe the Libertarians are going to have the 25%, projectile, because there's just so much animosity, and people are just fed up.
Like you said, the independents.
Really, the other candidates, the Republicans and Democrats, that they're trying to highlight and prelude on all the people, and not let us in their little forums of private, business super leaders that they know everything. So I just had a lot of animosity of how this election kind of went. But I think this is also a learning experience because, you know, we're kind of demonstrating a great brand new technology right here that all 24 candidates, if we really had the right setup, could all be debating here online. See 24, that'd be astronomical, you know.
Yeah, it would take about 24 hours, so.
Yeah, it would.
All right.
Maybe that's what needs to happen. No little marathon debate going on here. You know?
We need to have a debate tournament.
But gentlemen, I am going to say this.
Please.
I am going to say this. The most important thing we all have to understand at this firm, we have a responsibility to our party, each one of us, whether we Libertarians, Democrats, Republicans, or Independents. We have a responsibility first and foremost to the people. And we cannot cut neither short. But the most important thing that I want to leave with you all tonight is that we can no longer take an opportunity of this magnitude for granted and think that somebody's just going to give us something just because we asking for it. We have to earn it and we have to fight for it.
All right. Well, guys, I'm going to try to set this up again. I'll send out some more invitations, and hopefully next time we could have GOP Girl and Dr. Gillam at a computer instead of a cell phone. I think the computer clearly works better when you have everybody in the group window, if we can do that maybe.
Perfect.
All right.
Guys,
All right. Bye-bye, guys. Thank you. And thank you, GOP Girl, for showing up at the last minute.
Thanks a lot, man. Good to see y'all, man. Have fun out there.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Great to see you later. Thank you.
Okay. So if I'm doing this right, I should be appearing on the YouTube right now. I don't know if I am. I hope I was able to stream that. I'm going to go ahead and do my YouTube stuff while you're looking at me. What I want to do is now find out if this thing actually did stream. I'm being told by the YouTube page that it's streaming live right now. I'm going to go ahead and experiment with this just a little bit. Clearly, this is something that's brand new to me. You saw that tonight. I didn't have my icon, or the lower third they call it, but my name tag, if you will, up earlier because I saw no point. It would have spanned the entire screen and my name would have been under somebody else who wasn't me. I'm going to shut this down in a little while, but I'm going to chat a little bit while I'm searching here, because what I'm trying to find out is what this looks like online and if it's actually online. I think I stopped sharing the screen, so let me just double check. I might still be sharing screen. I don't think I am sharing screen. All right. Please excuse this. If you're out there and you do YouTube a lot, maybe you're laughing quite a bit. Let me go to there's a function here. Okay, it says that I'm offline. I'm not online. But then it also tells me that I'm live. So I don't know if I'm actually live or I'm not live. Okay, let me see. It's probably the case that YouTube did not pick this up. But at least I may have been able to record it. I may have been able to use, it looks like it's not recording. I'm getting different messages on different YouTube pages. This is not YouTube. This is probably just my technical limitations here. Well, it tells me that it's broadcasting. Maybe it is. Anyway, I'm going to try to set up another one of these debates. I don't think anybody watched this debate while it was live. If you did, there's probably an awful lot of buffering. I could see from the video right now that there appears to be buffering. So this is probably terrible to listen to. It's probably terrible to watch unless you watch the processed video, the recorded video. So I'll go ahead and shut this down now. Maybe next time we'll have comments. It doesn't look like we had any comments whatsoever. I doubt we had any viewers at all. So maybe this, when this processes, I'll be able to post it and we'll get some viewers there. Anyway, if you do watch this, thank you very much. I'm very grateful.